Latron Prime recently got its Incarnon adapter from the Duviri Steel Path circuit. Let me tell you guys, this is probably one of the most OP weapons that I have ever seen in the entire history of the game. I mean, seriously, DE has lost their minds with this one. But let's move right on into it. Once you have acquired your adapter from the Steel Path circuit, you can take it to Cavallero in the Chrysalith onboard the Zeraman to choose which Latron to put it on. The only two variants worth using are the Prime or the Wraith, so let's see how they compare. Looking at the stats from the wiki, and honestly, it really does not even come close between them. The Prime has incredibly better stats in every category besides critical chance and fire rate, being a 4% loss and a 16.6% loss respectively. Of its base damage, it also possesses a much higher puncture weighting, which is very important as you will come to see later, so once you get your adapter, throw it on your Prime as it is a much better option. Starting off with Evolution 1, which just gives you access to the Incarnon form. The Incarnon form boasts some very impressive stats, sitting at 44% crit chance and a 3.4x multiplier and a 30% status chance. The bullet contact damage is made of pure impact, totaling 256, but the rest of its damage comes from the AoE aspect it gains while in Incarnon form. All shots fired in Incarnon form will gain access to a 4 meter AoE explosion and will also bounce up to 6 times, although don't quote me on the exact number. These can bounce off of terrain and enemies and will explode every single time they bounce. The damage is evenly split between heat and puncture, and of course has that 4 meter AoE with a 20% fall off, which is very important. This turns the Latron into a stupidly powerful AoE weapon that just clears rooms. Seriously, oh my god, this thing is just ridiculous. Evolution Tree 2 gives us two options between Swift Punishment and Riddle Target. Swift Punishment increases damage by a flat 6, and when you have sprint speed above 1.2, you gain a Condition Overload style buff to your weapon, giving you 30% more direct damage per status on an enemy. This is not really great for the Latron for two reasons. The first is that Galvanized Aptitude provides the same bonus, except giving over 2 times that bonus, while also giving additional status chance, which is something that it wants. The second is that both this perk and Galvanized Aptitude don't even function on the AoE damage, as it is intentional that they do not apply, which is responsible for most of the Incarnon form's damage anyways, so this perk really does not have much use, and besides that, Riddled Target is fantastic for the Latron. Riddled also increases base damage by a flat 6, and will give you 25% more multi-shot when you proc Puncture, which the AoE does happen to deal. This stacks 4 times, giving you 100% more, which is equivalent to 1 bullet, and is really strong for many reasons. Evolution Tree 3 is more quality of life stuff rather than actual damage benefits. Marksman Hand reduces weapon recoil by 60, but the Incarnon form has absolutely no recoil, so I find this to only be useful if you have a hard time landing base form shots, which do have a small amount of kick to them. Extended Volley gives the base form 15 more ammo, doubling its mag from 15 to 30. Again, not super useful for me, but take this if you like it. Finally, Marksman's Focus will remove 30% of your weapon's zoom, which is my personal preference, as the zoom on the base form is a bit extreme, and this makes it much easier to manage, at least in my opinion. This entire tree is just quality of life stuff and all up to you, so choose whichever one you feel benefits you the most. Tree 4 though, is where we get some absolutely crazy stuff and where the title comes from. Critical Parallel increases crit chance by 24% and the multiplier by 0.2, which is actually pretty good, raising the base crit chance to 68, which means with just critical delay you get over 200% crit chance. Deadhead increases headshot multiplier by 100%, which is good, but the reason I'm not hyping either of these up that much is because Flensing Spikes is one of the most insane things that DE has ever added to this game. On Puncture status proc, you will remove 20% of any applicable enemy's armor, which means this works on Acolytes, Demolists, and the likes. Having a self-contained armor strip on a weapon that is massively AoE and has, really good stats is just ever so slightly broken, everyone. Since Puncture here serves as our armor strip standing in for what is practically the old corrosive status effect, we build the Latron in a very weird way. The AoE deals both heat and puncture in its AoE, with the latter being significantly more heavily desired for its armor strip effect on proc. This makes diluting our status pool with other elements like corrosive and viral actually bad for the weapon, and makes plus puncture mods have a use for once. Since we want to get as many procs for that armor strip as possible, building for high multi-shot and status is very paramount here, and since we don't want any more elements to dilute our status pool, we have some extra mod slots. Vigilante Armaments and Galvanized Chamber come in here for our multi-shot to give us a total of 3.9 multi-shot when stacked up, which is additive with the 100% provided by Riddle Target, which means that most times we launch 5 bullets in a single trigger pull. Critical Delay and Vital Sense come together to bring the Incarnate stats to 132% crit and a 7.5x multiplier, while I also like to use Hammer Shot here, not only because it provides critical damage, but also more status chance, which means more puncture procs on our radial attack. No other sources of status come from the build, but that is not really that big a deal. Because the projectiles bounce between enemies and terrain, one shot can actually apply multiple procs on its own, especially when paired with a grouping ability, which just makes this... It's crazy, y'all. Seriously. To make our puncture procs more likely, we actually use the 120% puncture mod, Piercing Caliber, so that we get the armor strip more often than the heat procs in the weighting equation for the radial attack. These last 2 slots can kind of be filled with whatever. I go for more fire rate and I also use a Bane mod, but this weapon is just so powerful that you can even just use things like Firestorm for an increased AoE, or even just more base damage from Amalgam or normal Serration. Both work. But that is going to be it for this video, everyone. This gun is just so strong, and it makes me so excited for future Incarnons. If they come anywhere close to this, it makes me really happy to see one of these older weapons being right back at the top. A quick reminder though that I do have a Patreon and YouTube memberships open now, with them both giving you tons of benefits that I'm sure you would love, so go check them out. I do all this myself, and these videos take a long time, so your support is heavily appreciated. Go check them out alongside my Discord in the description down below. Thank you to all of my supporters: Bored Platypus, The Mad Monk, Scotty Nose, Bad Robot, Jade Rabbit, Shrike, Raken, Sage, Serene Crane, Pretend, Sea-Doo, Brave, Calamity, Intellectual, Thorn, Boxy, Corrupt, and Heath. You guys are awesome. I could not do this without you. Thank you so much. But that's the Latron, everyone. Latrain, whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. DE has officially lost their minds with this one. More to come very soon. But I will see all of you guys in the next one. Peace.